So, Ambassador Puri, tell me what you think the lessons learned from Libya last year were in the application of R2P, and what challenges lie ahead for R2P from your perspective as the Indian Perm Rep.
Well, let me first talk about R2P, if I may, for a minute. I think no one as in no one in the international community wants to have another genocide or ethnic cleansing or mass killings on their watch, as happened in the case of Rwanda and Srebrenica. And therefore, I think everyone is on the same page, at least insofar as pillars 1 and 2 are concerned, which is that it is every state's responsibility to protect its civilians from these mass atrocities. And where a state does not have the required institutions, the international community has a duty and obligation to help that state through capacity building and technical assistance. The issue arises in the case of Pillar 3, the implementation, where clearly much more discussion is required. And what happened in Libya, I don't blame R2P for it as much as the manner in which the Security Council Resolution 1970 and 73 were implemented. Security Council Resolution 1970 is the first which mentions R2P explicitly in terms of Pillar 1, that it is the Libyan state's responsibility to save its citizens from those mass atrocities. Then it comes back in Para 9, I think, of 1973. There was a gentleman just now, the ambassador of Netherlands, who mentioned that the use of the term all means necessary. All means necessary means military operations are allowed. I have no doubt about that. There was a discussion in that in the council, and the council was all on the same page that if you carry out or implement a no-flying zone, you have to carry out military operations to neutralize a ground installation. That is not the point of disagreement. Military operations were clearly foreseen. Now, if there is collateral damage as a result of military action, well, there is a problem there, because you're supposed to protect civilians. The disagreement comes on something else. The disagreement comes because 1973 also stipulated explicitly that there is a ceasefire, that there is an arms embargo. Now we had the spectacle of the Security Council not being able to act on its own call for a ceasefire when there were parties willing to bring the ceasefire along. Others stepped in and said, no, we must carry out regime change. Till the Gaddafi regime falls, there cannot be any negotiation. That is not what the Security Council resolution mandated. And an arms embargo means an arms embargo applying to both sides. It cannot be that you carry out military operations against one of the disputants and you arm the rebels. That is where the disagreement. And I think that is what has given a bad name to what happened there in terms of Security Council. And in the process, I think, I'm glad we are having this discussion on R2P, so you can separate the doctrine from the implementation in a specific case. I mean, in yesterday's session, in which I was a panelist, I in fact turned around and said you can hardly blame Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels for the atrocities which were committed in the name of the doctrine which they helped found.
Exactly. So where does that leave Pillar 3 of R2P?
Well, I think Pillar 3 requires more discussion. Clearly that is the case. And one of the issues which I certainly raised today is, well, if a state is not able to meet its obligations to protect its civilians, and if Pillar 2 has also not worked, and the international community must step in, clearly we need to ask ourselves whether punitive and coercive measures and military action is the only way. Because if it is, then we need to have very clear understanding and agreement on ground rules, rules of engagement, and so on. But I should like to think that the international community can surely come up with ways and means where the international community can send in unarmed civilian monitors, etc. And there are so many ideas which will come out through this exercise today and in the few days that this gathering is here, where we must be able to come out in an innovative way. You cannot have a situation where Security Council passes a resolution, a military grouping carries out military action and bombing, and then you arm the rebels, and 3 quick steps to regime change. That's not what R2P is all about.